The future of Star Trek is its past. Quite the paradox, except it's not the basis of an engaging sci-fi masterpiece, it's an obituary in waiting for a franchise on life support. An audience waiting with bated breath, some resigned, some still hopeful, whilst the patient is injected with ever stronger doses of nostalgia to keep what tiny flicker of life remains. Although at this point it's more like an embalming fluid. Star Trek deserves a better standard of care. I covered Kirk's potential revival in my video Where Nostalgia Has Gone Before, where I outlined the root cause of Star Trek's problems being its loss of fundamental principles. Without that positive vision of humanity, there's no way to create compelling new stories or the characters forged from the challenges it presents. And thus we wind up here. We've had Picard, we've got Pike and Spock, we're getting the EMH, possibly Kirk, and now potentially Janeway. There's a simple law of economics at work here. Because classic Trek knew what they were doing, they could regularly write new characters that stood on their own. They could still make room for legacy character appearances, but it was always done in a tasteful and meaningful way. It was a sprinkling of seasoning, not the main meal. It didn't have to be. But oh how the tables have turned. And because there's a dearth of compelling new stories and characters, we're forced to revert to the old ones, to exploit name recognition for a bait and switch, because no one's tuning in for this shit otherwise. And in doing that, they've put the actors of those characters in a position of power. Want me in your show? It'll cost you. Because actors aren't necessarily interested in the same things the writers or the audience are. And now they're in a position to make demands, they do. Like Patrick Stewart's wish to be an action star in the TNG movies, which had mixed results. Only now you want him back decades later for his own show. And he has some other thoughts about the shortcomings of the show from the 90s that everybody loved. Perhaps it didn't really do him the justice that he deserved. Maybe there should be more of himself in there. And there's a term for that.
Sheer fucking hubris.
So while Patrick was bringing his full self to work, audiences were turning off in droves, leaving them to pull the TNG reunion card for Season 3 that itself was still stacked high with member berries. Better, yes, but like reheated takeout from days ago, it's technically edible and better than nothing, but let's not pretend it's the fine dining that we're used to. And it's not like William Shatner was known for being a screen-hogging egomaniac who alienated many of his fellow castmates over the years, is it? So we can be certain he'll put the story first. Which brings us to Kate Mulgrew, who's holding out for a live-action return as Janeway, as she recently revealed on a Star Trek cruise. Her one condition is that it's done right, and not a vanity project. Now, on the face of it, that seems all very well and good, but with the way things have panned out so far, there are natural concerns, and without more information, we can only speculate what she has in mind. She could be well aware of the mistakes of Picard
10 fucking grueling hours
and not want Janeway to be similarly tarnished. But Mulgrew has an ego herself, famously resenting Jerry Ryan for feeling upstaged by her in Voyager. Now, she has since copped to having the Lioness's share of the blame for that, and people do tend to mellow over time, so you'd like to think she isn't going to use this as some ego-stroking exercise for a victory lap or to settle old scores. Still, the possibility does linger, like a fast food fart. But one interesting possibility remains. What if she's well aware of what's lacking in Star Trek today? What if she just wants to be in something well written? What if she uses her leverage to insist they restart the fire of the original vision? What if she's no longer bothered about producers being concerned about her hair or which camera angle is more flattering?
Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker.
That could be the move to change everything. And seeing as the actors of legacy characters hold power because the studio is so desperate to paste their face like a skin mask over the dumb Trek they've been leaking out like a portaloo on the last day of a festival, one of them could definitely make that demand. The great Trek of the 80s and 90s was notoriously difficult to create. Writers fought against suffocating rules implemented by Roddenberry and later Berman, but necessity is the mother of invention, and it ultimately elevated their work. That's why even the weaker output at the end of that era looks like a renaissance next to today's Trek. We didn't know how good we had it. Star Trek was more than just a TV show, it was a cultural phenomenon. Kept alive by fans for over a decade following its cancellation in the 60s, they fought to keep Roddenberry's vision from oblivion, and now we're here again, circling the drain. Only this time it's still on the air, but in name only, separated from its soul. A zombie franchise, and it certainly could use being fed some brains.
Dum 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 dum.
The actors from the legacy shows actually have an opportunity to make a difference here. Will one of them, maybe Mulgrew, be able to look past themselves and do what's right? Or is Janeway's endgame just another paycheck? Confusiasm out.